Well, hello to everybody. This is Sew and Learn with Liz, and we are actually a year old. I started Sew with Liz Club in February last year, and it's been a fun year. So I'm looking forward to even more sewing and creative fun. All right, so let's have a look at my screen, remembering that there is absolutely no silly questions at all. You are very, very welcome to interrupt me and ask questions as we go. Those of you that are watching it on the replay, on the video link, no worries, just send me a question either in the Facebook group or by email, and I will answer you. There's the email on the screen now. Okay, so I wanted to start off by showing you this little technique of the month, which is shell tucks. Now you can see the blue shell tucks down the edge of my quilt. It goes all the way around. It's actually a table runner, and it goes all the way around the inside of my binding, which is obviously there. Whoops. And on the other quilt, that was when my granddaughter was born, and she's 12 now. And I was so thrilled to become a granny. And I made this little quilt, which was to celebrate her birth. And I called it Granny's Joy. And so I put some lime green shell tucks in there. And that is a trim that I made. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make today. But you can't really see that quilt, the whole of the quilt, very easily. So what I'm going to do is just switch to the camera so that you can see that quilt. All right, it was actually a applique in the hoop quilt. So each of these is a separate block. So there were 9 blocks in total. And there's different fabrics and stitching. It's made to look a little bit like Crazy Patch stitching. And then my label on the back, it was Granny's Joy, as I said, and the designs are Smith Street designs. I've actually got quite a few of their CDs, and I do really like them. And then this other one was, of course, my table runner with the blue shell tuck trim around the edge. But it's not only just in quilts that we can use shell tucks. This is a nightie that I made some years ago, and it's a fun knit fabric with little monkeys on it. And I wanted to just give a little bit of an accent or a trim on the round bodice. And so I made, it's a knit fabric, and I made a shell tuck trim with black cotton knit. And I'll bring it up closer to the camera so that you can see. You're seeing the texture of that shell tuck rather than the stitching, because I did the stitching in black. Okay, so we're going to show shell tucks, and how to do shell tucks with your sewing machine is you're actually going to use the blind hem stitch on your machine. And so you think shell tucks with a blind hem stitch? Yep, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I would use the number 16, stitch number 16, if I was doing the shell tuck down the left-hand edge of my fabric, but I prefer the shell tuck to be on the right-hand edge of my fabric. So I am going to use stitch number 17. All right, so that's the first thing, is you're going to select that stitch. So I'm going to go up here and select stitch number 17 on this little machine of my granddaughter's. Okay, and then let's just move it up a little so that you can see better. Okay, and then I am going to select the widest stitch setting on the machine. So that's for my stitch width. You may be selecting this and making these adjustments differently on your machine. This machine only goes to 7 millimeters wide. Your machine may go wider. I didn't test it out on my 15,000. You know me, 15,000. I've just been loving this little machine, and it's more convenient sitting right here on my desk. But you can experiment with a shell tuck of a stitch width of 9 millimeters if you've got that. Okay, so that's up to you. And then what I need to do is go down to my stitch length, which defaults to 2. And I have found from playing around with a couple of scraps of fabric that to have my stitch length at 2 or at 3 is the best settings. Once you go much bigger, up to sort of like 4.5 or 5, it really, the shell tuck doesn't look, well, for me anyway, for my opinion is it doesn't look great. So I'm going to start with doing it at 2. All right, and I'm just going to move my machine so that you can see it under the camera really well. Now, if you are going to work with a quilting fabric or a cotton, you need to have some stretch in that fabric. Otherwise, that shell tuck won't form. So I cut this. Well, it was actually just a little triangle piece scrap that I had over from a project. And what I did was I made sure that I folded over the bias edge of that fabric. And you can see that it's stretching for me. If I stretch it the other way, there's hardly any stretch on the straight grain of the fabric. And then I have just folded it over to the wrong side. And I'm going to do a shell tuck down this little folded edge. And there is one other setting that I need to do. So we took it to the widest stitch width or somewhere around 7. And we took it to 2 for the stitch length. But I also need to go up here to my tension. All right. And I've actually got it set to 9, which is the highest tension on this little machine. And the reason for that is that when it is stitching, you want the tension on the needle thread to be quite strong so that it doesn't form a wimpy little shell tuck, but it does a nice, firm, good bite with that shell tuck. So that's why I've got it set up to 9. I had it on like 6. Normally we're on about 3 or 4. I took it up to 6 and it was still wimpy. So I just thought, let's go in all way. So I went up to 9 and it worked nicely for me. The big trick here, and I'm going to show you one that I have stitched already. Here, this is on a piece of knit fabric. And do you see that it's not perfect shell tucks everywhere? Okay, here's the part I want to show you. Do you see here, they're a bit wimpy. They're not forming into a proper shell tuck. And that was because I didn't have the tension high enough. And then there's another place here, they didn't form a shell tuck at all. And the reason they didn't form a shell tuck was because when it goes stitch, 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 and then it goes out with a zigzag and back. The bite of that zigzag was not off the edge of the fabric. So you do need to go right off the edge of the fabric to form the shell tuck. And that once you've got the high tension and it goes off the fabric, it pulls your fabric in nicely so that you end up with shell tucks looking like that, which is what you want. Okay, so let's have a little go here with my quilting cotton. I just have a pale blue thread in my needle. I personally find that if I have the same thread in my needle and my bobbin, that's good. Actually, I have, pretty much the similar blue here, but I could have done it in pink. I would not have done this in a contrast color. Look what happens when you do it in a contrast color. You see the stitching. Now, it might be that you want to do that, but I prefer to see the texture of the shell tuck rather than the actual stitching that make that tuck. So this would not be my preferred way of doing it, but I did it like that so that you could see what it looks like when you've got a complete contrast thread. Okay, so anyway, we're going to continue on here. And the trick is to position the fabric under your foot so that when it goes zigging off to the right, it zigs right off the edge of the fabric. You should not be stitching on the fabric with the zig part. You are stitching on the fabric with those straight stitches. Okay, so I'm nearly done at the end of my fabric, and there are my little shell tucks nicely formed on this fabric. And if I turn it over to the other side, you can see that as well. Let me put it over my hand, and then you can see it really quite nicely. All right, this is a print fabric. The shell tucks will show up on a print, but they will also show up on a plain fabric. And if I had done my, let's just see, that was my stitch length at 2. Let's see what it looks like if I go down to my stitch length of 1. So I'm just going to fold this fabric also on the bias. And then I'm going to put my fabric through. And this is now a much shorter stitch length so that you can get an idea of what that looks like. Do you see you've got much tinier shell tucks? They're much closer together, and so they are tiny. Where are my scissors? Here they are. Okay, so that is a shell tuck on a woven fabric. But I have a piece here of stretch fabric. All right, it's just a poly spandex. And when we talked about the woven fabric, we knew we had to be making our strip of shell tuck trim. We had to be making it on the bias edge. Now, if I was going to use this for something, I would come along here with my scissors and I would just cut that. And now I've got a piece of trim. And of course, I could cut it as narrow as I need it for my trim. And if this was woven and I was setting it into a garment, obviously I would have it narrower because I wouldn't want it that wide. All right, so I'd have it narrower, and then I would also clip my woven fabric so that it could go around edges and not sort of like pull in my seam. All right, but when you come to work with knit fabric, you don't have to worry about that at all because it's stretchy this way and it's stretchy this way. So I'm just going to turn it over to the right side. And probably if I was making a piece of shell tuck trim, or this was actually a garment already sewed, and let's say this was my hem of, let's say, a nightgown, or a little girl's dress, or a little girl's nightgown, I could just turn the hem up and then do a shell tuck along the bottom of the hem. We're just doing it on a little piece of fabric here, and I think what I'm going to do is go back and make this, let's do it 1.5 to see what 1.5 looks like. Okay, and here we go. With our shell tuck, making sure that I go off the edge of the knit fabric because it's not going to make a shell tuck if I don't. All right, so I don't need to go all the way down to the bottom of it. There is my shell tuck. Looks quite pretty. And it actually, in many respects, a knit fabric gives it, it's even more emphasized. It pronounces it as a shell tuck because the fabric is more stretchy. Okay, and then I have got another piece here, very stretchy bamboo knit. So let's see what it looks like on a bamboo knit. And I think what I'm going to do is make the stitch length 2. And I'm going to start stitching on here. And then let's stop and take it down to stitch length 1. Okay, so again, we don't have to go the full length, but now I think you can see the difference. There are the shell tucks over here in my left hand, and then the smaller shell tucks are over on my right hand. So you can see the difference. You can make adjustments to get a shell tuck the size that you want. Okay, so any questions about shell tucks? Nobody got any questions?
I'm just wondering what foot you're using there, Liz.
Oh, I'm using my satin stitch foot.
Okay.
Because it's a blind hem stitch, I wouldn't have used the blind hem foot.
No.
If I'm not doing a blind hem. I just thought that a satin stitch foot, because it was see-through, you know, it's plastic, would be better because I can see where I'm going. But you could have used the regular sewing foot. You could have used a walking foot. Any of those would work.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. So let's go back to my screen share. Okay, so that was where we were at. And I'm going to move on now and start talking about some of the things that are happening and things that I come across that might interest you. I was quite surprised when I listened to the first of these videos, Beyond the Frame, because suddenly I realized that the two ladies presenting are from South Africa. They have very thick South African Afrikaans accents. And I asked them where they were from when I watched a video a few days ago, and they told me, and I know both places. In fact, one of the places I actually drove past it on the highway when I was there last year in September. So these two ladies have got themselves a really good thing going. This Beyond the Frame embroidery.com is where you go. And they have these free webinars. And the other day when I watched the daisy chain one down in the right of the screen, bottom right, they told us in that webinar, there were over 800 people attending that webinar. So this is free. It doesn't cost you anything to go to the Beyond the Frame Embroidery Club. And you just sign up, you give them your email, and they will send you an email when they're going to do a class. Now, the one over on the left-hand side with the little fringe flowers, that I made, actually, I didn't attend the class, but I downloaded the design and made those little zippered baggies. Everything, including the zipper, was done in the hoop. And that I thought was really quite clever. And I made a couple of those, and I don't have one to show you because I gave them away to my daughter's nieces for Christmas with little candies and whatever inside. But that one was a neat little project. So you can go to Beyond the Frame embroidery.com and you can download that design. Apparently, the one that's coming up in March is the one in the middle, the satin rose, and it looks like it's embossed. And that's because they're going to do it with puffy foam. So some of you may have done embroidery with puffy foam. I haven't for a long while, but if I've got time, I will attend that one. But let me tell you that I was impressed with this daisy chain. It's a very simple little daisy embroidery, but what she goes through in the video, and again, you can watch it, it's free. She goes over how you line them all up, and you make several rows of them in your hoop. And most of what they do is in a 5x7 hoop. So you don't have to have the most expensive embroidery machine on the market. You can still do these projects. And then they've got a connector stitch that actually joins the strips of daisy chain that you make in the hoop, stitches them together in another hooping, which I thought was really very clever indeed. She did one today, I believe, and it was $5 to sign up. I did not sign up because I was busy getting this ready for you guys. But $5 is not a lot, really, to pay for a design. Many times I'll pay more than $5 just for one design. So they give you the design and they give you the video. And it was doing something similar to the daisy chain, but they were little lace hearts that were all in a row. And you can then join up all those little lace hearts. And you can still do that webinar, I believe, if you go to their website and sign up. All right. And then the one that was done last week, I believe, was the little hearts. They were too late for Valentine's Day, but still you could do it with a different color theme. She showed how you can put it over the hook of a hanger, and you can put potpourri inside instead of stuffing. and that can then put a nice lavender fragrance or whatever you want in your closet, or you can toss it in your panty drawer. And they were doing that webinar at 2:00 in the morning, so that it was the right time for us here in North America. I strongly suspect most of her customers are from North America. In any event, that I'm not getting any kickback from Beyond the Frame Embroidery. I'm just impressed by what they do. I'm not affiliated to them, but I thought I'd share it with you because they seem to be sharing some different and somewhat fresh things, because we do get a little bit tired of same old, same old. However, you do have to have an embroidery machine in order to do these projects. If you've only got a sewing machine, all you can do is look and draw. Okay? Anybody got any comments?
Liz, I'll add to everything that you've said, because I've followed these people for well over a year, and their stuff is very fresh. It is not run of the mill. The videos are excellent quality, the free ones.
Yeah.
And the embroideries themselves, even if you have an interest in embroidery, I would encourage you just to listen, because you'll pick up so many incredible pieces of information from these two. They're really extremely well done. And they have a whole free section, cool, but they also have now started a paid subscription. And I was really tempted because they're doing some awesome stuff, but it was quite expensive. It's out of my Santa budget this year for sure.
Yeah. What was it? It was a couple of $100, wasn't it?
Almost like $3, because it was like US dollars and stuff. And I just thought, but they show you, like, I haven't signed up for the paid subscription, but I get the emails that showcase the projects, and they're so incredibly interesting. These are very talented people just stretching limits on embroidery machines.
They are baby lock people, but I mean, that doesn't really matter. All of us can figure out, and most machines have got the same features that their baby locks have got. An embroidery hoop is an embroidery hoop, really. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Karen. Any questions from anybody? Okay, right, so moving on. I wanted to give a sewing tip. My sewing tip of the month, pretty much from right at the new year, has been all about trying to bring some order into my sewing room. Because literally I was sort of buried under just too much stuff. I have far too much stuff. That's the problem. And I've got quilting stuff, I've got garment stuff, and I've got lingerie stuff. And this is my office as well. And it's a very tiny little room. So, of course, I've annexed other parts of the house, which my husband is fortunately very patient about. But anyway, be that as it may, I many times I spend so much time trying to find something that I know I've put somewhere, but I don't know where. And that to me is it's unproductive time, and it's a waste of time. So I set about listening to, I believe I told you a couple of months ago, put it on the Facebook group, Karen Brown. Incidentally, Karen, she's one of the speakers on the list for Boundary Bay Quilters Guild.
Karen Brown is?
Yeah, early next year.
Oh, smuggle me in.
Yeah, you can always come as a visitor. So in any event, I followed her. I didn't watch, she had a 21-day challenge. I did not watch them all. I found I just got bogged down. However, Jen Tryon over at homemade.ca also got us going by sorting our scraps, because I was fairly good with my fabric pieces like fat quarters and smaller pieces. They were sort of all arranged, standing up in a line in my boxes so that I could find them easily. All my garment stuff, let me see if you can see it. Let me just spotlight myself. Can I spotlight? No, I can't spotlight myself because I've got the screen on, but I'll show you just now. If I move that, you can see a little bit over there in the corner is my fabric, the garment fabric is rolled, and it's stuffed into those pigeonholes so that I can find my fabric, because putting them in layers in a box, forget it. You'll just never find your stuff. And then if I move out of the way, you can see I've got lots of fabric over there on the shelves in my unit, my wall unit. So I decided to do something with the scraps that were literally just in a box, and they were very messy, and I couldn't find anything, and they were all creased and just not very attractive to start a project. Okay, hello, Joanne. And
Hello.
hi. And so in any event, I started labeling things because I keep moving things around, trying to find the best spot for them. You know, it depends. Am I doing lots of lingerie sewing, or am I doing lots of quilting? And I just found I was wasting too much time looking for the right box. So I covered some boxes here. They're actually Avon delivery boxes. And I covered them with some pretty paper and put labels on them. So the top one there is my stretch mesh, and the one below it is power net. And these baskets have also been labeled, and you'll see where I don't want to write or stick a sticker on a cloth basket. I just put a little label and dangle it. So at least now I'm finding things way better. So that was my tip of the month. If you're frustrated looking for things, or you know you bought something, but for the life of you, you can't find it, or you bought things and you forgot you even have them. I found a number of things during this cleanup that I didn't even know I'd bought. I completely forgot about them. So do yourself a favor. I just feel so much more creative now because I can find things and I don't feel all muddled in my head like my sewing room was muddled. All right. But I did want to say that every month, coming up with a new sewing tip, I have lots of ideas, but you know what? There's a limit. So I thought all of you might want to send a sewing tip to me, and then I'll give you the floor, and you can explain your sewing tip if you want to do something on camera, and you've got a camera with your computer that we can see what you're doing. Great. Otherwise, you could just tell us your sewing tip, because I'm sure you guys have got some ideas that I haven't even thought of. Every now and again, I see things on Instagram and I think, wow, what didn't I think of that? Somebody else's idea. So I'm asking you to think about tips and whatever, and then let me know. And at our next Sew with Liz Club, we can get you guys to, you know, over the months, share your sewing tips. How does that sound? Okay, is there anybody got a sewing tip right on the tip of their tongue right now they want to share? Putting you on the spot now.
One of the things I've started to do is for storing my quilts, because it was getting a little complicated, was I roll them up on pool noodles.
Yes.
And then I use the selvages that I cut off fabric as the ties to tie them together.
Right.
So,
and then do you stand them up or lie
yes,
them down?
I stand up the tall ones, and then I have a shelf that I put like the shorter
Okay.
table runners and stuff on. And
Actually, I
them
should
down.
really do something like that because mine are folded, but they get those horrible creases.
Yeah. And then you can't get the creases out.
Yeah.
Do you fold more than one on a pool noodle? Like for bed-size quilts or something, or is it really just one that works? I'm just curious.
So I'm not sure what I just put one quilt on one
per pool noodle.
per
or
pool noodle.
More than one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that, Maury.
Yeah, one quilt per pool noodle.
Okay.
But I do, you know, you can cut the pool noodles up for shorter pieces like table runners and stuff.
Yes. And what happens when your quilt is bigger than the pool noodle? Why?
They kind of hang off the edges. I don't do a lot with really, really big quilts.
Okay.
But maybe with my new machine, I will. So.
Okay. What are you getting?
I got the M7 Continental.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, not the big dual one, just the sewing machine.
Well, I think that's the price of a car.
Oh, yeah, that one I have to mortgage the house if I wanted that one.
Yes.
Because I have the 550E for embroidery. So.
Yes. Good choices.
I thought so.
Okay, so well, thank you very much for that. I put something on the Facebook group recently about a lady. It was a video, and it was a lady that uses pool noodles to sandwich her quilts with spray basting. And I thought that was nothing short of brilliant, because I don't have a very big space where I can do that. And so I definitely am going to be looking for a hot deal on pool noodles for more than one reason now. All righty, so let's move on then to the next slide. And I wanted to show you what I've been quite busy with, following on from this sorting out of my scraps. Now, it turns out that I have an awful lot of scraps. This is just one little container, plastic container of them, and it was bits and pieces of jelly rolls left over from another project that I did. So the other Jennifer try on, this was in the first one that she did with Free February. You didn't pay for the course. There was a book you could buy, and then you got all the instructions for the projects in that book. I did not buy the book, but I'm following along in her Monday evening videos, or Monday afternoon for me, and doing the project sort of as I see fit. So I'm stash busting in a big way, because if you look in the top left there, I took a whole lot of the bits of offcuts of my cutaway stabilizer, and I sat the other afternoon and I zigzagged them together, because they're not going to tear. It's Diane's come back. All right, it's not going to tear because it's cutaway stabilizer, and it basically becomes my foundation, which is great, because then sometimes when you're sewing little bits and pieces of scraps together, it can wave a little and not be as flat as you would like it to be. So that's one way of doing it. And the other way of doing it, where is it? Okay, I don't see it around me, but is batting. All right, so you can use up your scraps of batting. In fact, I do have it here. I have something here that I did. All right, let's just get this. All right, so this one here, and I'll show you in the camera shortly. If I bring it close up to the camera, can you see that there are lots of joins in my batting? And I use this product, which is called batting and seam tape. And that's all I have left. So I don't know if I will buy more. I can't remember how much I paid for it. It's sticky on one side, and it's very much like nylon tape or stabilizer on the other side. And this is, you just iron it and it fuses the two pieces of your batting together. I don't overlap the batting because of its thickness. I just lay the two pieces of batting together up against each other and then put a strip of this on, and it works really well. But if you don't have this, you could use your scraps of iron-on interfacing, and it's going to work in exactly the same way. All right, or you could also use iron-on stabilizer for strips, and you just to join them. All right, so I'll show you those blocks in a minute. So in any event, I not only used my scraps of fabric, but I used up all the current bits and pieces of cutaway stabilizer. I do quite a lot of embroidery in my hoop, and I do quite a lot of sweet pea embroidery. And there you have to hoop up with cutaway and then lay your batting on top of the cutaway and then do your embroidery. And it's usually applique and embroidery on top of the applique. But then you take it out of the hoop and you've got all these wide strips of stabilizer around the edge. And I don't like throwing those away. So I found a great way to basically use it as a foundation for my scrap piecing. So here, as you can clearly see, was a bunch of strips of jelly roll. And all I did was lay the first one down the middle of the block diagonally, and then the blue one on top of it. So this one here, I laid down on top of the creamy colored one, right sides together, and then did a quarter, there's my arrow there, a 1/4 inch seam along the edge. Now, I didn't want to use my 1/4 inch foot with the guide because it was going to dig into my batting if I was working on batting. So I thought, nope, not doing that. So I just put my regular sewing foot on and then moved my needle position over to somewhere near 1/4 of an inch. That was good enough for me. Nobody's going to check my 1/4 inch because you don't see it once you put the next strip on. It's gone forever. Okay. And then afterwards, I trimmed around the edge, and now I've got a whole lot more smaller little scraps that I can use for other things. Like maybe when I get to a corner, I can use one of those scraps just to fill in that corner. And then I made this bag from it, just a little zippered bag. And I do believe I posted on the Facebook group today, if I remember correctly. I post so often, sometimes I forget. And I should probably look at the time too. I don't want to keep you too long. And so that's on there. And then you always use a zipper longer than you need. Otherwise, you're going to be having a lot of fiddling going on. So then what I do afterwards is I keep the zipper leftover, as I call it, and then I just pull it in half, and then I use those little pieces of zipper as my pull tags on either end of my bag, as you can see in the big photo. All right. Right. So what I'll do is very quickly move the camera back so that you can see the things that I want to show you on the table. And so I'm going to stop sharing and okay, let's move the machine a little further away. That's the one block I did. This is a little piece left over from a mystery quilt I did. And then all I did was keep adding strips around that. And this is the one where I used batting on the back. This one does not have batting on the back. I had some stabilizer, but just a small piece. And so when that ran out, I just carried on going, doing flip and press all the way around the edge. Now, it doesn't look like terribly much, and I don't know, will I cut it in half like that and make a super, let's move it so you can see it the right way up. All right, do I cut it in half and then have a super long bag that would actually be quite nice for knitting, because knitting needles would fit in there, it's long enough. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll cut it in 4 and make 2 smaller little zipper bags. Not sure, but I'm on a roll with using up the scraps, and that's what counts. This is more what Jennifer Tryon showed us, using up our scraps. And here I did it on stabilizer as my base. And so if this was a bag and I wanted to do the same with the other one, the 2 sides of my bag with the zipper at the top would be pretty much identical. And that would be a really nice bag. I'm going to show you, where are they? Oops, let me just grab them quickly. Okay, so this is the bag that Jennifer had us make. And on her Facebook group, she has put a video. Let me put these back. Did you hear that comment about, just in case you didn't, this is the bag that Jennifer had us make, a little boxed bag. And this happened to be a block that I had already made with some strip piecing. So I didn't follow her method, which is here, but it doesn't matter. You can put your scraps together any way you like. And I used the zipper leftovers on this one as well. There is the one that I showed you in the photograph on the PowerPoint. And then I'm also trying to use up my fruit fabric. So my fruit fabric is in this bag. I didn't box it like Jennifer's, but it's a nice long bag, so it can be used for all sorts of things. Onto the floor they go, and pick them up later. And then this is another one. This was little blocks that were going to be mug rugs. And then I thought, nope, they're too pretty for mug rugs. We will make a bag. So it's got the fruit on both sides, and it's getting me ready for spring, because I'm tired of the grayness and the cold. All right, so let me show you a few more things. All right, here are a bunch of ones that I did previously. and I'm hoping you can see them. Let me hold it up closer for you. They are little mug rugs, just with scraps of fruit fabric, and then I just went around the edge with the fabric, and I've got some decorative stitchings there as my quilting. And I have fabric on the back. So I've got lemons on the back of this one. So actually it's a reversible mug rug. All right. Or drinks coaster, whatever you want to call it. And then what I've been doing is I've been going around the edge and finishing it off with yarn. So basically I catch a piece of yarn all the way around the edge with a zigzag stitch. So I wanted to know, would you like me to show you next month how to do that? So instead of doing binding around the edge or doing well, you can't do the envelope style method because it's already all together with the backing. But if you have a binding around the edge and the wine glass tipples over on that binding, I prefer doing mug rugs this way. So I'll show you that next month. Hopefully you'll enjoy seeing that. And then this afternoon, because hubby's away and I can do exactly as I please, I got stuck into my sewing and I'm just using up scraps again. Oh, you can't really see that because of the light colors. All right, it was a charm square, and then I just used a jelly roll strip all the way around the edge. These ones I think you might see better. All right, the charm square with scrappies around the edge. This is another one. What I'm going to do with all of these, no clue, but there's another one and another one. And then this one, I believe, is the last one. All right, where I took, it was already sewn together as 4 charm squares, but my piece of batting was a little bigger, so I just added a little bit of brown on the edge. Will this be a little zippered baggie like that? I think that's quite a nice size for a little zippered baggie. Who knows? Maybe it'll end up as a humbug bag, which is where you do your one side seam like that. And then the other side seam, you do this. So that your bag ends up that shape, which is also a fun way to make a little bag. And the humbug bags are always done with one piece of fabric. You don't have a seam at the bottom. So maybe that's a good one to do with that. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the share screen. And as I said, shout if you've got questions. Please don't hold back. I want to share that. Okay, so what's next at Sew with Liz? All right, I do still have spots available this Saturday for the next 3 weeks for an in-person class here in my home in Surrey, BC. I know it's not going to suit most of you. And some of you have already done my course last weekend, the retreat, or the weekend before. So there you go. I just thought I'd mention it. And then I have 2 classes that I have posted to the website. One is making friends with your serger, and it includes making a lovely t-shirt, and the pattern will be included in the class. And you do need to register for that by the 1st of April so that I can get your kits to you. And that will start on the 28th of April. And I'm doing these on Saturdays over a period of weeks, because I think that way people who work can also participate. And then the cover hem workshops, again, you need to register by the 10th of March so I can send the kits in time for the workshop. And it starts on the 24th of March. So it's cover hems actually first and then followed by sergers later. Anybody wants to ask questions, you're very welcome to send me an email or text me or something. All right, then I also have bra making basics. Those of you that were on the lingerie retreat with me, this is what you've already basically done this. The bra making basics is a different bra to what we did at the retreat. But Anne, you've done it because I'm going to do the Barrett bralette. So if you did the Barrett bralette with Jennifer Tryon when I was teaching, that would be a repeat. But if you haven't done it, it will be either done with stretch fabric or stretch lace. And it's a super, super comfortable bra. Doesn't offer a huge amount of support, but it is very, very comfortable. And
Actually, I'm wearing one right now and it's lovely.
excellent. The Barrett.
Yes, the Barrett.
Excellent. Good. And it's rather nice because it's got this little peephole at the bottom that you can keep the peephole there if you want. It's a little triangle shape at the bottom, or you can do a hack on the pattern and not have the peephole. And then, of course, at the retreat, we did the Freya bra. And so I'm offering these as separate courses now for people who just want to do one or the other. Still with the Zoom support, still with the pre-recorded videos and so on. And then I wanted to tell you about something that I embarked on recently. I don't know where it came to me. Oh, I know where it came to me. There's a lady in Victoria, and she is a school principal of a primary school, but she absolutely loves sewing. And it appears from all the garments that she shows on her Instagram that she eats, sleeps, and dreams sewing like many of us do. And so one of the times she mentioned that she'd used this pattern from Seamwork. And I thought, oh, it's a really lovely garment. And her handle on Instagram is So Much to Design, I think it is. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll give you the correct one if that's not right. So in any event, I looked up Seamwork, and it's an annual registration fee that you pay, but they had 50% off. So I paid $99 US. They operate out of Portland, Oregon. And I paid $99 for a whole year, and there are hundreds of patterns that are mine to use, download and use. And when I consider what I've been spending buying patterns, I thought, well, that sounds cheap at the price. Plus, you get tutorials and you get support. They've got a whole built-in sewing network. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll give it a try for a year and see what it's like. So I have downloaded quite a few of the patterns and printed them and, you know, done my taping and all, but I haven't actually cut any out. I promised myself I'm not going to cut any more patterns out until I've sewn the ones that are already cut out. So I've got a big bin up the top there with loads of things that I need to sew first. So in any event, I just thought I'd share with you in case you wanted to go and have a look. I don't know if that $99 US $99 offer is still applicable, but you could wait for another one or ask them. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not, but I'm sort of enjoying what I'm doing with them so long. So I thought I'd share that information. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you is that with this Seamwork, they have a section called resources. You'll see it down here in the bottom. And if you go to resources, there are discount coupons for a lot of individual stores. And one of those is Fab Cycle. Another one is Our Social Fabric here in Vancouver. So I bought fabric on the weekend and I got 15% off, I think it was, at Fab Cycle because I used the Seamwork coupon, and you can use it as many times as you want in the year. So another one is Blackbird Fabrics here in Vancouver, and they focus on sort of a little bit higher end fabrics. And so a discount coupon's very a good thing for that store. So I just thought I'd mention there are discounts, and I reckon that if I continue buying fabric the way I've been buying fabric, that'll pay my $99 fee in the discounts that I get off fabric. So in any event, it's there for what it's worth. Also, just to mention again, to give a little bit of a plug away at the Lingerie Sewing Support Group, 26th of every month. So it is actually this coming Sunday. Is our next one at 9 a.m. or 6 p.m. It's actually on Sunday, and I do not record, so do tune into one or both of those if you are interested. Doesn't matter if you've never sewn lingerie, it's a good place to come. Am I right, Karen?
It is an excellent place to go.
Yeah.
Lots of learning happening there for sure.
Yeah, and you can then see, is it something you want to do or not? Or, oh, no, don't get me involved in this, but you would be able to see, and it's completely free, of course. All right, another plug here for the Sewing for a Cause. I suspect that quite a lot of those scrappy things that I showed you a moment ago will go into making little baggies that we fill with toiletries and we give them out to people who need a little bit of Christmas cheer towards the end of the year. And there's a bunch of ladies, I think 3 or 4 ladies now, that are doing that. So if you want more information about that, just let me know. You don't have to join the group that I'm sewing with. There's probably one in your area, but any event, I thought I'd give a little plug away on that. And I do have the instructions for making a baggie, as well as a free embroidery design to make a baggie in the hoop if you want to go that route. All right, so let's go to the monthly draws. So I'm just going to stop sharing for now and go back to my camera. And I'm going to spotlight myself so that you can see that I am not cheating. All right. So we had a voting thing going on. And I asked people to vote for the project. I think it was from the November meeting through to the January meeting of the project that they liked the most. And you know what? We're not going to do that again because a lot of people didn't vote. And secondly, I just completely lost track of who'd voted for what and everything. And I was scratching around today trying to find it, but I did remember that there were quite a few people who really liked Alison Rumble's Disney thing, the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And she made this whole set of T-shirts and all sorts of princess paraphernalia for a child who was going to Disneyland with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I have decided, as a dictator, that Alison Rumble is going to win that particular thing. Now, I put into my glass jar, and here it is. All right, all the names of everybody that had posted something on the Facebook group, that's Sew and Learn with Liz Thompson, since our January meeting. And thank you to those of you that did it this morning. Fortunately, I was almost done with everything, so I was able to go through and make extra name tags or little names on little pieces of fabric for that. So what I've decided to do, because it was becoming really quite an administrative job, every single project that you did got a ticket in the draw. So now I've switched it, and I'm hoping everybody's going to be okay with it. Every time you post, that's easier for me to keep track of, I will put a ticket in the draw. And if it's something, Diane, if you decide to post a picture of your smoothie panties, let's say, you did that class with me, so you get 2 tickets in the draw for anything that you've done with me. Or let's say after today, you get all excited and you use up some of your scraps and you make a little baggie like I showed you. Or you make something and add some shell tucks to a project. You get 2 tickets in the draw for those posts. Otherwise, every separate posting you do, you get a ticket in the draw. So let's see, there's quite a few tickets here. And I'm not looking. I promise you I'm not looking. My ticket's not in there anyway. We have Silke Grieven. She lives in Europe. So I think probably what I'll do is I will give her a voucher to watch a video or something on my website. So she made that purple top for her niece. It was really quite nice. I think she lives in Germany. Pretty sure she lives in Germany. So let's draw another one. And this one is Sonia, who posted a picture of her panties that she made on the retreat. So obviously she got 2 tickets there. So I will communicate with Sonia and find out what she wants to do. And just because I'm generous, we'll do another one. This is also Sonia. You know what, don't tell her. We'll pull another one. Fair's fair. Anne, you posted your panties at the retreat, the black and white and cream ones. So I am going to put this under the camera so that you can see. Here, let me just quickly do the camera. So you can pick what you want. Okay, I've got this length of fabric. It's like a panel, and it's got different kitty cats. So I'll bring one up closer so you can see it. And I do believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks and a bit of a border print. So there's that piece of fabric, or there is a tape measure and some of the 45mm rotary cutter blades. I recently went shopping for rotary cutter blades, and I was absolutely horrified at how expensive they've got. It was ridiculous. So that's probably, I don't know, $20 or $30 for that one rotary cutter blade. And then there's a retractable tape measure. And I also have a pack of Aurifil threads, little sampler pack with all sorts of different types of Aurifil thread, but they're all cream and off-white. What would you like, Anne?
I'm not a cat lover, but I think I'd like the cat fabric.
Okay.
I
You
can see
always
that.
make baggies with it.
I can see it in purses too.
Oh,
How big-
Yes. Yes.
how big are
other
the-
people
how big are
cat
the-
people.
How big are the squares?
Let me quickly measure that for you. Let's turn it around like this. Okay, do you want the black border or just to the gold?
Just to the gold.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
just a tad under 10 inches.
that's perfect.
Okay, it will be in the mail to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that is our draw. So let's just go back to sharing the screen. And all right, so I wanted to ask what sewing techniques you would like to cover in the coming months. For example, today we did shell tucks. Maybe there's something else you want to know about. Maybe you want to know about how to put an invisible zipper in, or maybe you want to know about a particular foot and you really don't know how to use it properly, or what are the various uses for that foot. Let me know. And you can tell me now if you want, or you can think about it, and you can drop something in the Facebook group, or you can drop something in an email to me. But I don't necessarily always want to dream up something that I'm finding exciting and fun, because that might not necessarily be what you're interested in at that time. So if you let me know, then I'll sort of plan to include those in the next few months. All
What
right.
about, Liz, what about pin tucking?
Oh, yes. Pin tucking's good. Right. Let me write that down.
Or even pin tucking with some heirloom sewing techniques.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm a licensed heirloom sewing instructor with Martha Pullen. I
You
got
are?
that certification many years ago.
Oh,
I went down to Alabama and took the training. Yes. So lovely. All those laces and pretty pin tucks and things. If
yeah.
anybody thinks of any other things, just let me know. But there you go. So the next Sew with Liz Club is going to be on Wednesday, the 15th of March, because I delayed it a week this time. It's not a full month away. I wondered if we could dare start with ideas for spring sewing. What do you think, ladies?
Could we start with a little discussion about what you saw at Fab Cycle?
Sure.
Because I think you saw some gorgeous laces there.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I actually went last week and worked for them. And it was actually more elastic than lace, but they do have lace from time to time.
Okay.
And they have tons and tons and tons of bra elastics, sort of the panty elastics, as well as the waistband or bra band elastics. And then they've got all these little sort of, you know how we take our elastic and we put the rings and sliders on.
Mm-hmm.
They are sold in little sets of 2 already done.
All done. Yeah.
But it's very narrow. It's only 1/4 of an inch wide. So I think these were for little girls' dance costumes, but I made a very cute little bra. I'll put it on the Facebook group if I haven't done it already. And I used a stretch mesh with little ballerinas on it. So yeah, I can do that. So I sorted everything last week, but now it's all got to be counted. And I think Karen might be coming in to Vancouver to help me with that. But she's launching it, I believe, towards the end of March. So, and there's every color you can possibly think of. And it's rather nice. There's also a lot of elastic. I told them to call it piped elastic, because you know how you get pico elastic and it's got the little curly lacy edge. Well, this is elastic that's got almost like a rolled edge with a silky thread.
Oh,
So if you don't like the lacy look on elastic, she's got elastics that have got like this very elegant edge, piped edge down the one side. It's faux piping, but that's what it made me think of. So yeah, I can tell you that. I'll ask her for some samples and to whet you guys' appetite at the next one. I think she's launching on the 25th of March.
Liz, I've got a question. As you're describing the lace, the technique you showed us today with the shell tucks,
Yeah.
could be used on the edge of a bra,
Yes.
like as a decorative technique, or
Absolutely.
that'd be really pretty, wouldn't it?
Yes. If you used it with a knit fabric and then
Yeah.
put it along the edge, it would act the same as a scallop edge on lace.
Yeah.
I would definitely try to use a very thin fabric, because you don't want it thick along the edge, but certainly that's a very good point. You could definitely do that.
Okay.
and you would still have to double it over to make the scalloped or pico edge on it, and then trim it off.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Liz, actually, I have a sample of one.
Oh, you do?
Can you
Yes.
show us? Is it handy?
Yep, I'm going to spotlight her now. I just have to stop the sharing, and then I'm going to spotlight Diane. There we go. Oh, look at that.
Oh, that is like pretty.
And did you make that shelter?
Yes.
Excellent.
Well, I'm glad I
The-
asked.
Yes.
This is actually from a vintage bra pattern.
Yes.
From, of course, now my brain goes in for the Underpinnings Museum.
Okay.
And so it's actually woven cotton, but yeah, this is just the usual
Yes.
Swiss dot fabric. And then I did quilting stitch here,
wow.
and there's boning on the sides. But yeah, I made this by doing it on the bias because it just
Yes.
made nice little shell tucks.
Do you remember what fabric you used? Which woven you used?
Okay.
Was
No,
it
I'm
a
not sure if it
polyester?
would have been a voile, because this isn't mushy. Like it seems to me that voile doesn't have quite the hand that this has. This almost feels like a lawn, but I
Okay.
don't.
And
but-
I'm guessing silk would be absolutely lovely too. Silk or chiffon.
I imagine it would.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't have any, but this just,
I don't have any
mainly-
silk either, but I was thinking it might be nice and thin to give you a very delicate shelter.
Yeah. Yeah, I just mainly wanted to do this pattern. I fell in love with it, and I love vintage sewing. And yeah, so
Is it a bustier?
it is a 1940 strapless bra.
Okay. Wow.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing that, because now we can see we can use the shell tucks on our bra. I hadn't even got as far as thinking that. I was thinking nighties and quilts. So thank you. Okay. And I think that is pretty much all I have for you, but let me just double check. Yep. That is all I have for you, ladies. Any questions of anything rising today, or comments, suggestions?
I also vote for Pintux, please.
Okay. Right, Pintux, it'll be in March. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, what I will do is I will stop the recording